Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Marie and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with coach and mastermind of the 2024 Bison Brawl 1, Coach Adam Ramsden. What's up, my man?
Good to be back. A little tired, but we're okay.
This is the least stressed I've seen Adam in a long time. We are just about maybe 15 to 17 hours away from the conclusion of the Bison Brawl, and we wanted to get kind of our wrap-ups, synopsis of what happened in the months, weeks, days, hours, minutes leading up to the Bison Bowl, and give you kind of like some behind the scenes, our perspective of what it was like, and just a little bit of reflection. It's going to be kind of conversation based, and that's going to kind of be the feel, the flow of today's podcast, is kind of give a feel of, all right, what was it like to run this? What was it like the day of? And what are our conclusion thoughts as we kind of move on to maybe next year? We'll see. Adam, you came over after we were done wrapping up. The gym was set up, and you had a Sierra Nevada, one of our vendors and sponsors. Thank you, Corey, for that, and gave it to me. And I was like, that was when I realized it was over. That was like the first time I was like, wow, we got this done. And where was your head at that moment, right after the conclusion of the Bison Brawl?
It was tough to process, just like the whole day, because you spend so much time planning and thinking and visualizing. So I tried during the workouts to take like mental pictures. You know, on your wedding day, they're always like, take mental images, just like kind of try and remember and enjoy what you're doing.
Yep.
But it's hard to do that when you're constantly running around, you're constantly checking in on, you know, how the workouts are going, whether your volunteers are ready or where they're supposed to be and stuff like that. And we had no problem with that yesterday. Yeah, once it was over and, you know, you kind of, everybody started to leave, that's when you're just like, okay, we made it. Like, it was a success from, you know, what I heard from a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of just pump the brakes just a little bit.
Yeah, even in the moment, after we got a lot of positive feedback, and we'll get into even some positive and negatives, that's how we're wired, but we did get a lot of positive feedback after, and even during, towards like the end, it's like, oh, this is the smoothest run comp, fun workouts, great volunteers, great judging, all this stuff. And even though you take in this positivity around you, you're still thinking about, like, how are we going to get the dumbbells onto the floor? Are the kettlebells lined up correctly? Did we tape correctly? Where are the wall walk lines? Should we have done this zone? Should we move these people to that zone? You don't actually get to enjoy the appreciation of it being over until you have that beer. We cheers a beer and we drink it. And Adam and I are wired similar in some ways, in that our first real conversation about the comp was, so what did we do wrong? What should we have done differently? And we are going to get to that. But I think the most important part that we probably both feel is just an enormous amount of gratitude towards the Bison community and also the athletes, the vendors that showed up, the spectators. We have been in the game long enough, both as competitors and as spectators and coaches. It's a grueling day for everyone involved, including the people watching the competition. And I have so much respect for every athlete that signed up, shelled out money, woke up at 6 a.m. Some of these people drove over an hour, competed all day, did that last workout, and, you know, left with a big smile on that face. I think this is that is such CrossFit to me.
Yep.
And we need more of it to kind of keep this ship going. But I want to just reflect, Adam, a little bit on how much help we had and how much it meant to us.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been impossible without all of the volunteers that, you know, we had, whether it was judging, whether it was setup, cleanup. Like, we never had a point in time where we were scrambling for anything. You know, setup, we had probably too many people that came. You know, everybody's like, what do you need me to do? What do you need me to do? And we're like, we have too much help.
I
Like,
feel bad.
Yeah. And we're, you know, I think you and I were both all in on making sure, or doing as much as we could ourselves. But once it came to yesterday, and 5:30 a.m. we had people walking in just being like, oh, okay, let's figure out the scoring. Let's, be setting up areas of the gym that we hadn't set up prior to. And then throughout the day, anytime I needed something, it didn't take me more than 5 to 10 seconds to scan the crowd to find Keith or Mike or Hovig and just say, could we have these ready or stuff like that? And it was done. Like, I never felt like I had to scramble to find you to get a problem solved. It was just like, if we had a specific question, and we had some good questions throughout the day and situations that came up, but we had all the volunteers that were just ready to say, okay, how are we going to solve this problem? Let me go do that.
Yeah, problem solving 101, that is how you run a competition. That is often the difference between a good competition and bad competition. And I hate saying, oh, I've been to bad competitions before. I would just say the ones that don't run on time or they didn't have solutions to problems. Problem solving 101, after owning an affiliate for 10 years, like, that's 90% of the battle. It's not the music and the programming, the equipment. It's, can you solve problems? And on the same level, if you want to run a good, clean competition, you have to be good at problem solving. And there's so many bullet points that go under that. But a lot of it just centers around teamwork and humility and having help. And like Adam said, I think one of the most uncomfortable things about the entire competition was some of our volunteers, they were like, that's all we can do? That's it? And that's just, when you are around a bunch of selfless people. I got a few messages yesterday from people I had not met prior to the competition, and they're like, your members are amazing. And we both got a few texts yesterday saying, hey guys, great job today. You guys crushed it. The first response is, we had so much help.
Yep.
And so I kind of want to dive into like some of the background of like the months and weeks leading up to what was like, because I know some of you guys that are listening, you just like hearing about this stuff, but B, you might want to run a comp at some point. And I want to encourage a lot of people out there that are on the fence about running one to do it. We ran one in 2017 and 2018 at our old space called the Bison Classic, and they were both successful events. Again, same thing, a lot of help, good competition. It was clean. Everything was on time. Every year at our gym, we run the Bison Bowl, which is an intra-gym competition, meaning a competition only for our members. It's a much more kind of fun vibe, not so serious. It costs $10, not $200. We don't have vendors. But that kind of experience, it did help plan this out in terms of just heats and pull-up bars and zones and what you need for everything. And I kind of want you guys to kind of get a little, maybe backstage approach to what was going on in the months and weeks leading up to. And we had been asked from a few different angles, like, hey, you guys should run a comp. You guys should run a comp. And as positive as I am in life and about life in general, I would always find 5 reasons to say no. The parking, that's like a primary one. The parking is always tough in situations like this. Do I really want to shut the gym down on a Saturday and take a class away from our members? Do I want to spend months and weeks leading up to just stressed out in general? But we definitely did it. And one of the first decisions I made when I said, all right, we're going to do this, was I wanted to get someone to really be the point person for it. And that was Adam. And it was obviously a very good decision there because he crushed it. But Adam, when we started talking about this, this was back in the summer, and what was your primary goal of the competition, and do you feel like you achieved it?
I guess my first goal was to make sure that the athletes had a good experience. I knew going in we would have the help we needed. Whatever we came up with as far as workouts, setup, cleanup, just knowing our community, that wasn't a problem. I said, we're going to have enough help. So let's make this a good experience for the athletes.
Okay.
And I think just the way that we ended up working, the flow through the workouts, timing and everything like that, I think we achieved it. I hope we did. I hope there wasn't anybody that walked out saying, that wasn't a good test of fitness. That wasn't, what I was looking for when I signed up, when I paid my money. And so hopefully, I'm sure if somebody didn't have a good experience, I wouldn't hear about that. But if there was anybody, we can try hard next time.
And we do like feedback.
Yeah.
Like you have to be open to feedback, even the stuff that you don't want to hear. So if there were any issues that you guys felt like we had, we're all our doors open. We'll probably even send out a conclusion email soon, just saying if anyone has any thoughts, please reach out, because we do want to make it better if we do it again. But the weeks leading up to, so you and I spent some time planning out the workouts, and you really, one of your goals was, I want to use a lot of different, I call them toys, like pieces of equipment. We use kettlebells, dumbbells, bike, box, sandbag, barbells, rig, wall ball. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a 3 workout competition with so many different movements and pieces of equipment that tested fitness slightly different than what you might train on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So that was a really cool move. I think that enhances the athlete experience. It makes it more complicated for us, but again, we knew we would have enough help to get the job done there. The weeks leading up to, so this is after the workouts are announced, after the initial communication has been put out, the registration is closed for the most part. What were the weeks leading up to? Let's create a 2-week window. What were those 2 weeks leading up to for you?
So that was the most interesting part for me, because once we came up with the workouts, once we said, okay, we picked the date and everything like that, there was a big lull where I was kind of just like, I feel like we're not doing anything. And you were taking a lot care of a lot of stuff with the scoring system and everything like that on the back end and vendors. But then we met, I think, like about a month ago, and you said, there's really not a lot to do until the 2 weeks prior.
Right.
And then, you have your set number of teams as far as you think, and then, now it's just coming up with heat times, lane assignments, kind of getting a flow of, if you start at 9 o'clock, how long is that first workout going to take? How long is the second workout going to take? How much time do you need in between heats for equipment change? And we even had people from the equipment team wiping down the wall balls in between heats, which was gigantic, because, it's just like some teams would walk up and they'd be like, ooh, that wall ball's sweaty.
Yeah. I hate those athletes that sweat a lot. It's
just awful. No, but we had people coming in, spray. One person went down the line, sprayed all the wall balls. The next person came down the line. It was like an assembly line, cleaning the wall balls. So it was never, and I caught one athlete kind of looked at the wall ball and then saw somebody come clean in and goes, wow, okay,
nice.
That's pretty cool,
Yep.
And that was something that we didn't even plan for.
Yeah.
Our volunteers just said, oh, this would be a good idea. We're getting some wet wall balls. Let's wipe them down real quick in between each heat. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's again, you're just blessed with good members and just honestly some smart people and that have done this a long time. They've seen the Bison Bowl. So I bet some of that motivation behind wiping down a wall ball has been, hey, I've been here for 7 years. I've done partner Saturdays. I've done the Bison Bowl. I've seen other competitions because I go and watch and support. And, we're always in the crowd chirping like, oh, man, that wall ball's wet, right? But these people take it on themselves. And that's to me, that's kind of what humility is. It's not expecting someone else to do it. You just go take it on yourself. You don't expect a thank you. You just do it. And that's a huge part of a real quality volunteer staff in which we had. They just take it on themselves because they're smart and they're humble. It's a really good combination of personality traits. One of the reasons I really wanted to have, some established help, like a person like Adam, to run this with was, there's a lot that goes into it, but the heats, making the schedule is probably, in my opinion, other than safety and fun for the athletes, right? And we'll get into that as well, are the heats. And there's so much that goes into that. We wish we could just, take the teams in the order in which they signed up, and just put them in heat 1, heat 2, heat 3. But at the start of this, guys, we had 6 divisions. We had scaled men and women, RX, men and women, masters, men and women. We called an audible the week of the competition, and we put masters, I feel like I'm going to sneeze again. We put masters into the RX division. Now, before anyone's like, wait, no, protect the old people. The workouts and the weights were the same for masters. They were simply just going to compete against each other, but the numbers just weren't there. I think we had a division of 4 and a division of 3. And I don't like that if you can avoid it. If that is what it is, you go for it. Like example, if they had the different weights and movements, we probably would have just rolled with it. But because you had all of these different divisions, and again, guys, it's same gender. So competitions that are mixed gender, one guy, one girl, you can cut the divisions in half by doing that. So there's just a lot of separation. So you're talking about the logistics of equipment changes in between. You're talking about trying to get the teams in the division. We were so detailed and probably care too much for the athletes, to be honest with you, about this, that we asked every athlete, how tall are you? Because we want to give you the most optimal height pull-up bar for you when in the one workout that you might be touching the rig, you might not be. Those kind of things, that can keep you up at night for weeks. And it can really take away from trying to plan the other components of it. And Adam took that on 99% by himself. And that, to me, is probably the most valuable asset to running a good competition, is making sure you make the heats economic. You make them efficient. Adam, when you started building that together, were you able to like wrap your head around it, or was it something that you had to adjust as you went?
I think the flow of the first workout made it easy. Like a new team starting every 2.5 minutes, like that's pretty much locked in. Now it could have gone off the rails if a team wasn't ready for their heat or they didn't know where they were going. There was one time we were missing a team, but we got them in right under the gun, like 5 seconds before they were about to go off. But that workout, the kind of waterfall flow, made it easy for the timing. The other ones, it's tough because, you have how long the workout's going to take, like how long, 12-minute time cap, 11-minute time cap. But how much time do you need in between those heats to set up? We had to call an audible with some zones just because of people. The pull-up bars weren't exactly what people wanted. So, that's why having the volunteers, and we'll come back to this, I'm sure, multiple more times, we were just like, listen, we need these stacks of weights moved to zone 4 instead of zone 2.
And you're talking about 300 pounds worth of weight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was done in 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Could
have been faster, but just kidding.
So, just having that help allows you to call those audibles when you need to, and solve those problems really quickly. But you have to be, you can set things up how you think is perfectly
right
for the data flow, without a hitch, and something's going to go wrong. And how you adjust to that, and sometimes you can adjust to it. I always think back to Asbury when they had the lifting platforms that broke. You had to problem solve that really quickly. And if you didn't have the ability to call that audible, you could have ruined the athlete experience. So it's thinking on your feet, what can you do, and just having enough help to be able to solve those problems when they arise. Yeah,
and that's exactly it. Can you have solutions to problems when you don't know what problems are going to come up yet? Like having that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the pre-decided, factors of like, all right, if X, Y, Z happens, we're going to go to ABC. If ABC happens, we're going to D, E, F. Like that. Those are the things that I think the best competition runners, the ones that have the most experience, they do. And I would liken that to CrossFit gyms. Is that, and I was just thinking about this on the way here because I got cut off by a fire truck, and his lights were on. I was at a light. I was about to go, and all of a sudden, I had my music way too loud, and all of a sudden, I see these big flashing lights to my right. And as he's driving, this is literally 20 minutes ago, I'm saying a firefighter on a Sunday morning, what could they be solving at Sunday morning at 7:15 a.m.? And these guys that have been in there for 10, 15 years, police officers, I would even say teachers are like this too. The more experience you have, certain situations come up without warning, but you can kind of immediately tier it into a certain section of problems. Every problem has its own respective details, and it needs its own specific attention, but you should be able to take a situation and be like, all right, I've been in a very similar thought process over the past 5 to 10 years as a CrossFit coach, to be like, this is the proper solution. You think about it for 7 seconds. Here's a mistake that Adam and I, we both collectively made. We were going to take one of the sections that has 2 low pull-up bars, and we were going to raise one of them to a medium height. And we put teams in that zone that had tall athletes in it, meaning they had to have a medium bar pull-up bar. They're usually good for anyone like 5'10" to 6'2", 6'1". But the bars that they were, the height that was there was someone that was probably 5'7" or lower. Every team had someone that was taller because that's the way we set up the heats. Adam, I forget what night it was. I think it was Tuesday night. We were putting these heats together, and we went through the height of all 76 athletes and made sure we visually went to the zone and said, hey, this zone will be good for this team. And there were teams that had a really tall athlete. I think we had a team that had a 6'2" athlete and a 5'6" athlete. Mm-hmm. So they needed both, right? You can't give them the same pull-up bar. It's just not right. It's not the right thing to do. So we went to every zone. Every team said this will be good. We forgot to raise that pull-up bar. And we'd realized it at the start of the workout. We both kind of like wide-eyed. We forgot to raise the pull-up bar. But you know what? I've been here before. You want to know why? Because at CrossFit Bison, every class you sign up for, we put people into zones. You don't show up and go pick where you're going to work out. Some call it a control freak. We think it's a good system, so do our members. And we've done this before where someone signs up for a class last second or they need a different pull-up bar. Like, you immediately just know what to go. Like, we both kind of came up with solutions to that problem at the same time in under 5 seconds. Hey, 2 open zones down there, done. They have the medium and low bar, blah, 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 blah. And then we have a staff of 5 volunteers that can move weights over. That is a situation that I want to compare to a firefighter. Like, they go to a fire at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. They've probably done something very similar over the years, so they kind of know what to expect. And the solution isn't like, hey, let's think about it for 15 minutes. It's like, nope, we're done. Do you kind of see any other situations or just any thoughts on being prepared for problems with solutions to problems that you don't even know exist yet? Can you, as a teacher, even think about something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, as a teacher, you never know the makeup of your class. You know, you're going to get emails about students not sitting next to each other and stuff like that. So you kind of just have to be able to think on the fly, you know, where can I move this equipment or anything like that. You know, when you have a team sign up and they thought that they were going to be in one division, they were in another division, like, how do you, you know, kind of scaffold who's going to be put out by that? You know, if they made the mistake, then, you know, the athlete experience has to take a hit for that, you know, because you can't be messing with the flow of everybody else's workout just because they misread an email or anything like that, even though you emailed them back and said, you know, this is the situation. So you kind of have to just be able to think on the fly because there's no way to plan for everything that's going to happen day of. So you have to kind of visualize as many things as you can see going wrong, but then know that new things are going to pop up day of, morning of, afternoon of, you know, so.
A birdie told me that you were up till 1:30 the morning before the competition, and you were at the gym at 5:30. So if anyone wants to do some math there, you probably slept less than 4 hours the day before the competition. When you woke up and you're on your way to the gym, what's the main stressor that you were going through leading up to?
Just not having the experience of planning workouts and, you know, knowing how one movement's going to lead to another, how, you know, and you helped with this, not making sure that we had too much pulling from the ground, you know, in all 3 workouts, because that was initially a problem that we ran into when planning the workouts.
Yep.
So just driving over, I was just like, just let everything go okay. You know, let's survive. Don't worry about it being great.
Yep.
Just get through it for this first time. And then if you do it again, you know, take all the things that you learned from this time and put it into the next one. And it's like doing, you know, workouts, you know, you you kind of survive, Fran, the first time you do it. And you're like, okay, how can I do this differently next time and improve and stuff like that? And that's what you're always looking for.
Yeah, that's a good analogy right there. Like workouts that you repeat. You know, you get it done, you survive. You're like, what could I have done a little differently to improve my score, improve my time? And that's kind of like how running competition does feel. The main stressor, and there, it was easy to get overwhelmed in something like this. And this is a much smaller competition than some of the big ones out there. But I think it all kind of circles back to the same thing, is you have to keep the main thing. And what our goal was to provide a fun, safe, community-filled day that revolves around fitness and competition. And every time I found myself stressing about which vendor was going to be here at which time and where they were going to be in the gym and what they were going to supply for us and what we were going to supply for them, and were these people going to show up on time, and what are we going to do about the parking? I don't know why I always freak out about parking. I think it's just something that's in my head that I just can't get out. Like, where are people going to park? Are they going to go here? Are they going to go there? Are they going to block someone's driveway? Is a cop going to walk in and say, hey, shut the thing down? Like, every time I look at the door, I'm hoping I don't see 3 police officers saying you got to wrap this thing up. But I always circled back to, and I said this to you, I think it was Tuesday night. I was like, dude, our priority this year is to run a good competition. Everything else is secondary. Everything. Vendors, and I'm going to give you guys a shout out in a little bit. Spectators, parking is, let's focus on the heats, the athletes, and the judging. That was, that actually helped calm me down a few times, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of factors that you cannot control, but focus on what you can control, and it's amazing how things fall into place.
Yeah.
It's like, there at some, I think it was like 7:45 that it's starting to fill up a little bit. Athlete meeting was at 8, so a lot of the athletes were there, spectators, judges, everything. And I asked someone, it was the only time I asked all day, I was like, what's it like out there? The parking, what's it like? And she's like, it's kind of like your wedding. You'd rather just not know what's going on behind the scenes. And that was the last line. That was a great line. I forget who gave it to me. It was Vivian or Lisa. She's just like, it's kind of like your wedding. Just don't think about it anymore. Now, the flow of the day, okay, and I want to kind of reflect on our first issue of the day, and it was actually had to do with the scoring. We converted RX to Masters pretty late in the process, like I said, the week of, and we got the scoring system set up the night before / the morning of. I mean, we had set it up in July, but we were actually starting to experiment with the scores now that all the teams are in there. I brought my computer from home, and I'm going through it, and I'm like, all of our Masters teams are not in here. And in my head, I'm immediately being like, we're going to have to build our own score sheet through Excel in the next hour. And I knew, honestly, if we had to, I knew we'd be able to, but it just would have taken a lot of time. So I'm on the phone with someone from the program, from the software company at 7:45. At the same time, we had a team check-in that we actually opened up registration late for them to sign up. So first of all, Ashley walks up, and I can tell Ashley, my wife, is walking towards me. I'm like, this is not going to be good. Just the way she was walking. And she goes, there's a team here that says they signed up, but they're not signed up. They're not in our registration thing. And I'm like, Jesus. And I almost got up and said, hey, guys, you're out. Like, you can't show up to the day of the competition. Like, it's not going to happen. And then I got the team name from them, and I said, I know exactly what happened. I want to give you guys the background story on this. A team asked, someone from a gym asked if other pair of people from their gym could sign up for the competition. And she said that these 2 guys want to do scaled. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. We'll just work it out. Adam I think I'd already started putting the schedule together, but we'll figure it out. It's only one team. Registration comes through a day later as Masters. Masters, at that point, had already been converted to RX. So I emailed back and I said, hey, you said they were signed up for Scaled. I saw they signed up for Masters. I just want to let you know that Masters is now RX. And that I left it there because I assumed that they looked at the workouts and Masters were the same as RX. They should be able to do the weights. The reason why there was confusion about the registration process was those guys wanted to do Scaled. And that's why they were not on our Scaled list. They were not in the RX list because they didn't sign up RX. They weren't on the Master. The Masters had it put into RX. So there was confusion. They did have a registration, But after the heats had been made, they said, hey, guys, we're not doing RX. We can't do those weights. We are going to get broken if we try. Adam, your first thought on that in terms of this started off the flow of our day.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what do we do here?
I immediately said, in my head, not to them, I said, you're going to ruin my dream of workout one. Because as of, 2 days ago, we had 7 scaled men teams and 7 scaled women teams. And the flow of workout one was that scaled men and scaled women were going at the same time on 2 sides of the gym, flowing down. And then we were going to have an open heat where we could quickly switch out equipment from scale to RX. And then the RX teams were going to flow down. And it was a thing of beauty in my mind. And I saw somebody throwing a rock through the window of my glass house. And so, when I went out and talked to them, I was like, okay, well, RX and Masters were the same weights. And, all it is, the guy was like, 50-pound dumbbell, that's impossible. 155 shoulder to overhead, impossible. And we were like, okay. So, luckily they understood that because of the mix-up, their athlete experience might be a little different than the other teams. Mm-hmm. So we put them as the first team to go.
By themselves.
Yep. They were by themselves in station 1, and, workout 1 helped with this because the flow of 2.5 minutes after they started, 2 teams were behind them starting. So it wasn't like they had a full workout by themselves. And we got lucky that the way the scaled team numbers worked out was that we were going to have 4 in one heat, 3 in another, because there were 7 teams. We could just fit them in to that open spot in the second heat.
Right.
So a lot of things went well with that problem to be able to solve it easily.
Credit to them. Those 2 guys were very team player with us. Like,
absolutely.
They were like, whatever you want us to do. Like, if we get less rest between workouts, we'll do that. You could throw us in the corner, we'll do that. I mean, that could have gone a lot worse. But so their reactions to our solutions were a huge part of it being an efficient answer to that problem. Another angle to it, though, that did make it a little bit more stressful, we originally had, and we're going to get into heat sizes in a little bit, that we originally had 2 scaled heats, right? For a group of 4 and a group of 3.
Yes.
For the scaled guys. Mm-hmm. And then after talking and after kind of mapping things out, we said, you know what? I bet we can get away with doing all of them in one heat, because one of our goals was to finish before 3 o'clock and to really kind of keep this thing on time. And
nailed it.
Yeah, let's go. RX Plus. And we said, you know what? Instead of having 2 heats of scaled, just putting them into one heat, that alone saved us about 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. So the heat of 7 scaled men was the biggest, right? And the women? Yeah. In the second workout.
And adding in that 8th team, that was a stressor
on
the floor. Yep.
Yeah, that was a stressor. It's like, man, that already is the biggest heat. Now we're adding a team, and those guys had different heights. I don't want to go back into that fiasco, but that was something that we were able to take on, and it really did not disrupt the flow. There was a little bit of confusion, communication with the people that are corralling the teams, and that's something that really did help us kind of just move forward and stay on time. Flow of the day that's kind of that's how the day started, right? A scoring issue, a registration issue, and by 9:05 there were 0 issues. It was solved right away. So, like I said, the goal was to get on time, stay on time, and it's really important to communicate to athletes, hey guys, your heats are on time right now. So a lot of these guys plan their warm-ups, their preparation, even their eating in some cases around what time their next workout will be. And if you're going to be late, it's okay, but you have to relay that to the athletes. So we had Guillermo on the microphone. Guillermo and Jody did a great job corralling athletes and helping us stay on time and communicating to the athletes, which is always a big deal. But at any point, we did get a little behind schedule at some point. We actually ended up making up some ground in that last workout. Where did you see any potential? Because now we'll start diving into some of the things that we could have done different and maybe that we will do different in the future. But what are a few things that kind of just swallowed up a little bit more time than we thought, that maybe if anyone's ever running a competition, just try to keep some attention on this in contrast to what we did.
Yeah. When we initially came up with the heat list and the judges for each heat, I had it all in one document. And it was kind of like one spreadsheet that showed all of workout 1, all of workout 2, all of workout 3. And then 2 nights ago, I had, when we were thinking about corralling athletes, I said, you know what? It'd be nice if Bill and Jody each had kind of a picture of the gym for each heat and say, okay, this is the time this heat's supposed to go. These are the zone assignments for the teams. Thinking back now, I would have liked to have put the judges' names in there, and had every volunteer have a copy of that. I mean, it would have been papers all over the gym. But, talking to Dan Cota last night, he said, it would have been nice to have just like a list of my assignments for the day.
Got it.
It would have been a lot more work.
Yeah.
But it's something we could have done to make just the flow of getting everybody in place a little bit quicker and save a minute or two in between some of those heats where it's like, okay, this team doesn't know where they're supposed to be. They were supposed to be in zone 14, but we moved them to zone 12, and just communicating that.
Got it. Yeah, that's actually a good thought. And, I would say one issue of putting the whole schedule together for each individual judge, which would be a lot of work and a lot of stress, is like if you have one little change at some point, it could throw the whole thing off, and then it could cause confusion.
Yeah, and you're trying to be down to the minute,
right?
And
literally
at some point, Ashley had like 17 different times on her arm, and she comes up to me and she goes, "We're off," and she points to one part. She's like, "I'm supposed to be judging at 1 o'clock. It's 1:07," and I was like, "All right, listen,
thanks, Ash.
Things aren't going to go perfectly.
Sorry about your arm.
Something, yeah, something that was erasable on your arm."
Are you sure that's a 7, Ash? It might be a 1. I would even say one thing I noticed that I would want to do different is we went from guys scaled to girls scaled, and then guys RX to girls RX. And that's okay when you have 20 people changing equipment, but it is a lot of changing stuff in and out. And I was just thinking about this last night. Was there a possibility, and we could even probably find a hole in this right now, but could you do guys are scaled into guys RX so that the barbells don't have to be changed out? You still do have to change some of the other things, and then you do girls scaled, girls RX. Again, the barbells, because the hardest thing to move, in my opinion, it's usually barbells.
Yes,
they're heavier, they're awkward, they're long. You have to find a spot to store them. So that would cut out one transition of weights, instead of just constantly going back and forth, guys to girls. Ashley had mentioned, why was it possible to keep all of the guy heats on one side of the gym and all the girl heats on the other side of the gym? I kind of said no, because it just would have, it doesn't come down to genders always. It usually comes down to height. And you have some girls that are 5'10", 5'11", some guys that are 5'5", 5'6". So that kind of throws off that side of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think the layout of our gym is that, and just from coaching classes, you're kind of like, one side of the gym, the left-hand side is more girl heavy. It just has more low pull-up bars and stuff like that. So as you're building your classes, putting things in, you're checking Zen Planner, who's in this class, just more girls end up on the left-hand side than the right-hand side. More guys end up on the right-hand side. So that would be doable, I think, with our layout. But you also just want to have the ability, or at least in my mind, for a male athlete to look around the gym or look behind him and be like, "Oh, they're not resting. We got to go."
That's a good point.
That's you want that intensity level.
Yep.
And I'm sure you could get that with guys and girls working out at the same time too. But you just do want to have, some of those teams that know, okay, those guys are in second place.
Yeah.
These guys are in third place. We have to move here.
Yeah. I talked to Tim and Aaron that they used to run an individual competition in October called the Garden State Open, and I think Tim said they peaked at 150 athletes, individuals. Just think about that, not teams.
Yeah.
So that's 150 stations per workout that you need set up. And I remember we actually talked about this yesterday, him and I, just a little bit, where I think Aaron was there too, because Aaron's like a mastermind behind that competition, in that you had to put heats that had mixed divisions in it. Like you would have, I remember working out there and being like, all right, there's 12 of us RX and the 8 of those guys are scaled, and which is great for the efficiency of running on time. It's great for the feel of like, hey, the gym is full, a lot of energy, a lot of the more people working out, the more spectators you have in there, right? Because everyone has like their own group of fans and spectators cheering them on. But it actually is not spectator friendly because different movements, different weights, but also you don't really know who's in first and who's in second sometimes, even if they're on separate sides of the gym. You know, if a scaled guy is over there getting to the rig first or the barbell first or the wall ball first and the other people are over there, it's like, wait, is he in first? No, he's in scaled. Okay, so is he in first or is he in second? That can be hard to determine. And not especially in a local gym like this. It is the spectacle and seeing who's in first, who's in second, and it being spectator friendly is a goal, but it's not a primary goal. Like I think the last workout was perfect for, all right, we can see where people are because it's chipper style. So like, hey, they're on that movement. But I was thinking a few times yesterday, and it's one thing that I had thought last night, could we have made the heats bigger to just speed it up a little bit? Not that we needed to, but I'm thinking more like next year. Like, let's say we have double the teams next year. We can't have, a heat of 4 and a heat of 5. But at the same time, I want to kick back on that for our first competition, because part of the advantage of having smaller heats is that we had so much control, flexibility, and we had too much help. And I'd rather have too much help than not enough.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
So that's one thing I would expect for next year if we do this again. We'll talk about that towards the end. We're going to wrap this up soon. But that is partially dictated by your schedule, what you want it to feel like, your help, but also the workouts. The workouts dictate a lot about how much action you can have out there at once to keep it safe. What were we the most proud of, the most pleased with? Again, I mean, we could circle back to the spectators. I really do think that was it. But what were you, and don't hesitate to like really the first thing that comes to your mind, like what was the thing that you were like really gave you a sense of pride after this? Because you do deserve to feel that way.
Okay, this is going to sound bad, but
here we go.
The thing I was most pleased with was that everybody had trouble getting up on top of the podium. Done. Stepping up on that box was one of the hardest things that everybody had to do.
It was funny how they looked at it for like 7 seconds and they're like, wait, how do is there a ladder?
One more box step up. But just like circling back to the beginning of our conversation of taking those mental pictures, when we first came up with that first workout, the waterfall style, and we tested it out, you don't get a clear picture of having 12 athletes doing six different things at all times, and whether that's going to work out with the judging and everything like that. People are going to be where they need to be every 2.5 minutes. So there was one point in the middle of that workout where I was just like, it's working. Yeah. Oh my God, this is great.
Yep.
And then that third workout of, as I was walking around, just people being like, this is awful. What have you done? And that's just like, you get the proud parent moment where you're like, yeah, this is my creation. And it's working out how you thought it was. Painfully, but yeah.
Yeah, that last workout was so awesome to watch because, like, the elite of the elite, like we had some elite athletes there, and I don't want to get into like good, bad athletes, but like I'm just saying every athlete in that room, whether you were the elite of the elite or was your first comp ever, we had a few of those as well, they all were like borderline at failure or actually at failure of a simple handstand hold or push-up hold and wall balls. And you still had like 30 of them left, 50 of them left, 60 of them left. That, to me, it just goes to show there was nothing very high skill in that workout. I don't consider wall walk high skill. The ones that go fast, sure. But it's funny how these elite level athletes can take on simple tasks with a light kettlebell, by the way. And, the first half of it's a partner workout. So you're resting for half of the workout for the first half anyway. All right. Where they were at, it's like the simplicity of CrossFit sometimes gets overlooked. Like It doesn't need to be squats. We had different versions of this workout. I believe the first one had power snatches in it. I want to say the last workout.
Okay.
I think we did. It might have been the second one, but there was a barbell in the third workout and not in the. There was going to be a barbell in the third workout, and then we said, hey, we don't want to have barbell in every workout.
Right.
And I just remember thinking, like, should we go with the heavy kettlebell? I'm so glad we didn't go with the heavy kettlebell.
100%.
Because
and I told that to a bunch of people yesterday.
That thing being light, I bet there's some guys in there that have not touched a 35-pound kettlebell in 9 years.
Yep.
And same thing with the girls using a 26-pound kettlebell. That you can make workouts very challenging for the elite of the elite and not go crazy heavy, not go crazy high skill, and not go crazy volume, right? Anyone in the world can create a hard workout. You're not special if you created one, but I do think there's some special in creating really hard workouts that elite athletes fail at or borderline fail at when you're using very simple concepts. Reflect on that last workout a little bit more, and then I'll give my favorite part of what I'm most proud of. And just in terms of like the envisioning of it, because I think that workout is going to be what people will remember about the first Bison Brawl.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to the scaled athletes because I think they had a harder time with that third workout. I think the third workout was harder scaled than it was RX with the bear crawls.
I was going to say, why?
Because of the bear crawls. I mean,
Yep.
You think when you start bear crawls that, I can go so quickly, like I'm going to rip through these. And then you get 5 bear crawls in and you're like, I don't want to ever do another one ever again.
Yep.
And, we had the conversation afterwards. Were there too many bear crawls? Should we have taken that number down? And I don't think so, because I think everybody got where we wanted them to get in the workout.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, the goal of the workout was how hard can you push when you got to the wall balls? And, we had a race between our first and second place team in the scaled men's division where it was down to the wall ball. How many were they going to be able to get? How many reps?
And that came down to 2 things.
Yeah.
What's your wall ball capacity, and can you hold a handstand during your, quote, rest?
Or hold the top of a push-up.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just like the struggle on holding the top of a push-up, which, athletic people can do for minutes at a time.
Yep.
At the end of that workout, it borderline on being impossible to hold it up, which is great.
Yeah, that was just an awesome end to it. I think my favorite part of it was something that we talked about when we initially announced that we were running this competition. I had a few moments where I was going outside. It was really close to the end where I knew, like, all right, we made it. We have 1 heat left, 2 heats left. You go outside, and there's, 20 tents in the parking lot. There's vendors. There's athletes. There's people sitting on the chairs. People getting sun. There's little kids running around. And it did help that it was one of the nicest days of the year.
Yes.
It was like 72 and
Perfect weather.
Blue sky, not humid. Didn't even think about the temperature in the gym once the entire time. And I just remember thinking, like, through all this, I'm pretty connected to what's going on with CrossFit and the turmoil at the top and some of the loud voices in the media always wanted to cause problems. And I always feel like one thing when I really kind of get down on the situation overall is just the amount of people that have just started to kind of like either turn against it or turn against each other. And I think the future of CrossFit is going to revolve around days like what we did yesterday. Like, I want to see more of these competitions pop up. I think in the heyday of the growth of Bison, the competitions that we've done, and I know schedules are tough, right? Like, you're in it right now, Adam. Like, you and Atlanta run around like chickens with your head cut off with sports. Like, so I know we can't expect everyone to show up to everything and be as available as possible. But I want to challenge some of you gym owners and coaches and CrossFitters, the athletes and judges and all this, members of gyms, to try and find opportunities to build up days like yesterday. Because I remember looking out there, I'm like, this is where it's at. It's not the games. It's not social media. It's people from all over the place coming together, sitting in a parking lot, throwing down with some workouts, good, bad. We didn't have any major egotistical athletes yesterday that were causing problems. Hey, competition can bring out that kind of attitude in anyone. But overall, it was such a positive vibe all around. Like, that is why I was really happy with the day. Yes, being on time. Yes, no one getting hurt. Yes, not having to use our EMT that we hired to come and spend the day there. That and I actually think we helped out some of the local economy. Like, I don't think people realize how much influence a CrossFit can have on a local economy. Like, we had the vendors there yesterday. Like, I know a couple of them make bank. They get new customers. Like, there's so many positives out of a day like this that it makes the stress of leading up to really feel like it was completely worth it. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, and I remember, yesterday you said after the podium announcements, you were like, all right, hang out for an hour, blah, blah, and these people have been here since 7 a.m. And so you're just like, they probably just want to leave.
Yeah,
right. You know? And then I looked outside 45 minutes later, and people are still out there hanging out, like talking to new people, the environment of everybody being intense outside, it just lends themselves to, as you're walking past, you're like, good workout, stuff like that. And you build relationships that way. And I think that, that's one of the definite positives that comes out to all the hard work that you put into it.
Yeah. Yep. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for our summary of the 2024 Bison Brawl 1. And, I'm going to have to ask Adam on the fly, are we doing this again next year or what?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So I'm telling you this right now. Adam's going to be thinking about workouts nonstop in this gym, visualizing, because I've been there before, and it's just it kind of starts to take over. And I can guarantee we're probably going to start trading some workout ideas with each other over the next 9 to 10 months. So keep your eyes open, your ears listening to when we are going to announce. I can tell you right now, it's probably going to be this first weekend of October. If we have to move it a week or two, we will, but it will be in this kind of like early to mid-fall stage. Just because of the weather base and what's going on around the CrossFit community around that time. But we will be back for Bison Brawl 2. We hope to see you there. And last thing I would say, and I'll let Adam wrap it up, is if you don't want to compete, you have no interest, we started something called the Bison Spirit Award that we hand out after the Open every year. And it's not just about the Open, which is about 4.5 months away, everybody, that we want people to look at this as an opportunity to really kind of serve the community, not just your gym, although you are going to be helping them out. But this is something that I think a lot of people took pride in yesterday, that they were really, truly a key integral part to the success of the Bison Brawl. So even if the comp scene is not your thing, you don't do CrossFit for competition, this is a huge opportunity to help the greater community out that has helped you out in ways that you probably don't even fathom yet. So this is a really big way to kind of pay back, pay it forward. So if you're part of a gym that's running competition, go ask what you can do. And to the gym owners and coaches that run these kind of things, take note who helps you out, because at some point you should be paying them back as well. Adam, wrap it up, my man.
Yeah, love it. The amount that you give to your gym, you get back tenfold, no matter what it is. So, help out and just have fun with it, and you'll enjoy it.
Bison Brawl 2. See you guys next year.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.